I don't want to take too much time, but church, I want to first thank you, Mom. Allow me to thank the church for aligning itself to the will of God in 2022 and bringing to Kenya a godly nation. Through your prayers, through your vote, we came to diaspora as UDA and you received us, welcomed us, supported us. You voted for UDA. You even called your people back home and asked them to support the UDA government. Please clap for yourself and we thank you, thank you, thank you. You brought in a godly nation, a godly leadership, and for that, God, you turn around our nation. I just want to take 3 minutes to talk about devolution because we have so much we could talk about, but devolution is the desire of Kenyans who wanted to access the public service closer to them. If you look at Article 6 of our Constitution, it's a document you must stand with as a Kenyan because it's a document that connects us with the covenant that the government has with the people of Kenya, and I believe with God. The territory of Kenya, Article 6 of our Constitution, is divided into counties that are specified in the first schedule. If you don't know what your county is, go to first schedule of the Constitution and read the number of your county. For instance, do you know county number 1 in Kenya? What is county number 1? Mombasa, the gateway to Kenya, the gateway to the East Africa. If you look through, you will see whether your county is number 2, 3, 4. Nairobi is what county? Watu wa Murang'a mko wapi? What's your county? The government at national and county level are distinct and interdependent, and they conduct their mutual relations on the basis of consultation and cooperation. Now, when we talk about devolution, it was what the Kenyans expressed themselves as needing to have services being accessed down to mashinani. You can say devolution is kazi ya serikali mashinani. The objects of devolution are provided for in Article 174 and 175. What is the objective? It's to promote democracy and accountability in exercise of power, fostering national unity by recognizing diversity and enhancing people's self-governance, enabling communities to manage their own affairs, to protect and promote the interests and the rights of minorities, the marginalized, and ensuring equitable sharing of resources. You know, we're in a business forum. And when you talk about business, you're talking about resources. When you talk about assets, assets are seen in people, assets are seen in people. You will hear the reference of human capital, human resource. When we talk about assets, we are talking about resources like money, land, mines, anything that is profitable, anything that brings you wealth, you can call that a resource. Now, 2010 Constitution created a decentralized system of government. The legislative and executive arms are devolved to the 47 counties that are in Schedule 1. What does that mean? That in your county you will find there is an executive and there is a legislature wing. The legislative wing is the MCAs. You know how MCAs, the ones that go to the county assembly. That's a wing. It's the legislative wing down at Mashinani. It is equivalent to the National Assembly or the Senate. That is the legislative wing. Then we have the executive wing. You have the governor who appoints a board and they appoint CECs. Unasikia how CECs? Those are the ministers. Have you ever heard they are being called ministers? So what we have at the national level is replicated down at the county level. So you have decentralization of power, decentralization of resources that comes from national down to the people. It was occasioned by the fact that many people felt as though they were left out in governance, they were left out in resource sharing, and they felt excluded. So devolution now is an element of inclusion within the governance system and within the resource sharing formulas. The primary objective in decentralizing is to devolve power to devolve resources and representation to the people. And that is seen as a key to unlocking Kenya's economic potential through distribution of responsibilities. That is why I've introduced it as such. So that you understand the ultimate goal of doing all that in the Constitution is to ensure that the Kenyan potential is unlocked, economic potential is unlocked through distribution of responsibilities. What are the counties expected to do? They identify the problems in those counties, they make policies, plan and collect revenue, they execute budgets, accounting, auditing, monitoring and evaluation, and then they give the citizens an opportunity to participate in decision-making processes that build those counties. Are we together so far? You could call this constitutional law theory. That gives you the rationale behind the Constitution now devolving that power, following the devolving of the power with the resources and the money, to make sure that the person who is in the county is able to benefit from the revenue that is generated in Kenya. Now, if you read Article 174, it's going to give you down all those objectives, and I want to talk about more of the equitable distribution of resources. And those resources are distributed based on a weighted formula. I'm sure you know that resources are given to counties, the resources that Kenyans eventually just come around and really make noise saying, you know, money is being stolen here, or money is not being used the way we expect it to be used. Those resources are distributed based on a formula. Under the Constitution, if you look at Article 203, you will find that the revenue, the national revenue, is supposed to be devolved to the counties at a minimum of 15% of that national revenue. That's the minimum. Meaning if the government has no money at all, the minimum they should send to the 47 counties is what percentage? I said 15%. You know, this is a class, ma'am, where people need to understand a bit of mathematics, economics, because you're not going to tell me you are going to trade in your county, you want a tender, you don't know how that money is coming in, or you are not even understanding those simple mathematics. So 15% as a basic minimum is sent to the counties, or the 47 counties. Now, the work of the Senate is to look at the formula that is being sent to the counties. You had a debate just the other day when there was a negotiation on whether 385 billion should be sent to the counties or 4. Who was following that debate? Do we have accountants in the room? There was a team that needed 407 cents. Then we voted for 385, and there was so much heat. You remember that? Maybe Honorable Mudhama can remember that. And what was the rationale of those who voted in favor of 385? We had already looked at the formula, looked at the debt burden in the Republic of Kenya. Since the debt burden is high, na dawa ya deni ni dawa ya deni ni nini? Ni kulipa. So we could not, if you allocate too much, then you fail in your debt obligation. There are consequences to the failure of debt obligation. So our reasoning and our rationale and our argument was the government has already allocated 23.9% of the revenue to the counties. So it is not as bad as you're making it sound to the public. Now, I want to talk about the services that are offered and why devolution is important. Number one, it is for equitable distribution of the resources. Counties are a good platform for economic and social development. It helps those who are feeling excluded to be included. It gives opportunity to citizens in decision making, and it also promotes transparency, accountability, and democracy at the county level. What services do you expect at the county? Because if you want to trade with the county, and many diaspora people have asked us which services can they render, what tenders do they have? Public infrastructure, anything within the road sector, water, health, waste management systems, street lighting, you will find all those functions provided for in Schedule 4 of the Constitution. Agriculture, county health, control of air pollution, cultural activities, county transports. animal control and welfare, trade development, markets, county planning and development, pre-primary education, natural resources, environment conservation, county public works and services, firefighting services and disaster management, control of drugs and pornographic material, and coordination of community participation. So if you're developing a proposal in any of those areas, come up with an idea and then approach Minister Sally's Can Invest. Come up with a proposal if you want to trade within the counties. Now, you have 47 counties in Kenya, meaning you can engage with any of the counties within the 47 platforms. And then you have the national government. National government is another business opportunity because you can engage with the government and trade with the government, and that becomes your 48th opportunity to trade with the Republic of Kenya. Are we together so far? Now, I said counties are devolved for funds to the level of a minimum of 15%, and there is another equalization fund that is posted to the counties or that is dispatched to the counties at 0.5% of the national government revenue. All those resources are available within the public sector. Now, you know all support services that come around the counties are opportunities for trade. I think, Ma'am, diaspora has been needing to trade with Kenya, and I have listened to so many of them giving me very good ideas on how waste management can be done. The problem has been, every time they approach Kenya, somebody loses money. But I believe this morning, you received a very good proposition from Minister Sally on how not to lose your money. And then when you come to invest in Kenya, you also are in error when you approach the back streets, or you approach maybe relatives without any agreements written down. I had an opportunity in one of the states where somebody gave me a very sad story that he had sent money to his father. He was supposed to be building something, and it was the father's date. Unfortunately, he also married another wife. So you cannot be funding such illicit activities in the name of doing business in Kenya. That is not smart. You must be good enough to know that money is not going anywhere, and don't keep sending projects which you are not doing monitoring and evaluation. Once in a while, if you're able to take a ticket to Kenya, go and see where that land is being bought. Just that, having your own eyes to the project, you'll be able to tell there is a project or not. We had another incident, Ma'am, and I'm sorry to quote this bad example because there are very many good examples. I have seen many diaspora people who own big apartments, high-rise apartments in Nairobi. So there are good stories to this proposition for business. But I have also seen somebody who sent money, and you don't even want to hear the story. When she came back to Kenya, she found she didn't own anything, and now she was getting sick. She was so sick, she was almost dying. Now it is worse if you die because of a mistake that you made earlier. At least if you lose the money, don't get sick in pursuit of it. God will still give you another portion if you lost money. And the disadvantage when you trade with relatives, the Chief Justice was here, and maybe she did not say why she was very aligned towards mediation for family matters. It's because when your brother eats it or your sister eats it, there is no court of Kenya you're going to take them because of your mother and her big rod. She'll be sitting there and saying, just forgive him. So you won't do anything about it. So please. I think these ones have even lost money to relatives. That clap, Ma'am, the money has been lost to brothers and sisters, and there is no court of law that's going to assist you. Only mediation, wazes, your uncles and your aunties can come persuade him to return. And let me tell you, when a Kenyan eats that money, don't even ask them to return. They don't have it by the time you're asking for it. So they are not going to pay you back that money. So now the worst is don't get sick trying to recover that money from your brother. The money you are not getting it, you look for more money and become wiser the next time you invest. And if you're looking for credible lawyers There are many people. We are there, we could recommend. So please, don't lose your money on it. But there are many good opportunities in Kenya. If Wairimu talks to you, if Nimo talks to you about the savorite, a mineral that is in Kenya, one of the most precious minerals. I attended a mining conference where I was speaking about the savorite. The mining that is being done in Kenya, and the next level where the nation wants to do in terms of mining. You will not waste your money sending people. When you have time, you go to Kenya for a month or 2 months, look at your opportunity, get involved in how you set up that opportunity. You can have your seat, Nimo, you can talk to them about minerals some days, and the special stones you showed me on your phone. She knows all the special stones, the savorites, the emeralds, and she's able to negotiate with the top in the world. She will tell you where the best laboratories are for checking those mines and minerals. So if you want to trade with Kenya, just know Kenya has moved to the next level, and don't be left behind by the pessimism which I've seen on social media. There is such a pessimistic approach on Kenya and the opportunities that are in Kenya. Indeed, what is happening in Kenya today, even in terms of provision of internet and hubs, right now the Ministry of ICT is taking internet to the markets in Kenya. So we needed to tell the CJ that internet will be provided in markets. So meaning, if somebody has a matter in court, they can hang around that market in a quiet corner. They'll be able to attend their court proceedings behind the market. They'll be able to log in for free internet. That's going down to the people. The kind of a plan, what the Kenya Kwanza government had as the plan for the nation in manufacturing, in digital superhighway, is still being rolled out. And what we need to do is to support the government, support the plan. I believe in another 2-3 years, we'll be talking of a different story. Our nation will come back on level. There was a question about housing levy. The housing levy, Minister Sally, and I'm finishing now. Housing levy, there has been so much heated debate on the housing levy, the introduction of the housing levy. I would only want to say this. One of the reasons why many people have moved from Kenya to very advanced jurisdictions like the US, the UK, Europe, and many other places is because the social status and networks in these countries are admirable and they look very good, appearing much more safer than our jurisdiction. Now, in this area, in these jurisdictions, you find the housing is sorted. There is a social security system that helps the citizen maybe to be a little bit more comfortable. The only way for our nation to transition to the next level is to roll out the benefits of Article 43 of our Constitution, which talks about social and economic rights. Now, in pursuit of that equitable distribution of wealth, the plan offers, under Kenya Kwanza government and our president, Dr. William Ruto, they offer to build houses, at least 200,000 units of houses that you go to different, they'll go to different counties, and the maximum that you pay under the housing levy is 2,500 shillings only. So people are discussing as though it is like you're paying all your full salary. The maximum is 3%, but with a maximum cap of 2,500, and the employer matches it with another 2,500. If you don't want a house after 7 years, you can withdraw the benefit. So it's not like a taxation. Taxation, once you pay VAT, you will never be refunded. It goes to the government. It's the one that is used for the roads, for the water, for the health. But on the housing levy, it's a benefit that you are able to retract back. And you can transfer that benefit to even beneficiaries along your line if you don't want to use it after 7 years. So let people understand that the housing levy only goes to the maximum of 2,500. It is matched by the employer to 5,000, and you can withdraw that benefit in 7-8 years once you have paid up to the government. Thank you. God bless you. We'll interact more.
Thank you, Senator Veronica. That was very informative. You can agree to that, isn't it? Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that. Now, while Honorable Mudhama is preparing to come and tell us the investment opportunities in Lamu, I just wanted to remind us, and I was reminded when Senator Veronica was talking, that when we come to investments, and she has brought it very well about the counties, there are certain principles we need to always remember. Number one, investments or business is always about risk and return. See, because you cannot say you're doing business or investing without factoring in the issue of risk. You cannot do business without risk. So there's issue of your risk appetite. Because the quicker the return of the investment, normally the higher the risk. You know these schemes where you're told that your money will double overnight, or it's going to return very quickly, you're going to get 50% in 3 months? Always know, the higher the return of your investment, the higher the risk. So there is where you can be burnt, kabisa, and you get nothing out of what you're investing. On the other hand, the lower the return, when you're told it brings in 10% after a period of this, it looks so little and it's going to take so long, but at the end of the day, but those ones are the safer ones at the end of the day. So with investments and business, there's always the long-term mindset. This idea of this will not come in 2 months. Let me wait a year to get a return, or even let me see this business, how it's going to go for the first 3 years. I think you have to have that mindset of long term in order for the business to solidify, for the investment to take root, for it to bring a real return. And that's how we come out of the danger of a quick return that is high risk. And normally those ones are con, the quick rich schemes of overnight. The other thing is always consider the cost of the investment, the cost factor. Because there's always cost factor involved. What is it going to cost you? Because you may be interested in an investment, but you haven't counted the cost of what it will cost you to actually solidify that investment or that business. And then you go halfway through and you don't have enough to get that business going or that investment going. And there's always the process we talked about earlier and what Veronica just mentioned. The process, the legitimacy of the process you're going to use in entering into that investment, using the right professional help, the right bankers, the right lawyers, the right contractors, the right consultants, if it is developers. You have to make sure you're getting credible people with a track record. They belong to institutions that you can ask. Like if you come and use me or Veronica or other lawyer, you will check with the Law Society. They'll tell you whether that's a lawyer you should touch, or that lawyer is even awaiting disciplinary committee because of the money of clients they've eaten so far. So you need to be sensible about that. And then also in terms of information. What I gave you was information. It's very important to get information about the business and the investment, so that you're going into it with a lot of understanding, with a lot of knowledge, a lot of information, so you're not making a mistake.